Hey, you guys. Thanks for listening into this episode of Tips with T. On today, I had Mr. Jesse with us. Hey, Mr. Jesse, how you doing today?
Hey T, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being a guest on the show and welcome to the show on today. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Jesse. I am originally from Pennsylvania. I lived in South Korea for 7 years. Now I'm living in Spain. I've been here for 10 years now. And what I do appointment setting for a franchisor, and I also help parents to live more conscious lives, to be leaders in their family, like you see on the screen here, to be leaders for the family and to be leaders for themselves, whether they're in business or just have their own job.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell us, how did you start your journey of becoming an entrepreneur? How did that look?
Yeah, that started from English teaching. I was an English teacher, and then there's kind of a ceiling if you're a teacher, right? There's a glass ceiling. You can't get above it unless you go into business for yourself or become an owner or something like that. So I moved into the English coaching space. So my first entrepreneur journey really was in the coaching space. So working for myself, being a freelance teacher, but also more a higher ticket coach. And that's where I learned skills like sales, social media marketing, email marketing, copywriting, things, all those professional skills that are necessary if you want to be an entrepreneur and a solopreneur, especially. So that's where I started with that. That was around COVID time. Right before COVID is when I really jumped right into that.
Awesome, awesome. So now you are doing what you call is parenting leadership. So why is what is parenting and entrepreneurship coaching, since that's what you specialize in?
Yeah. So I found that a lot of parents, like, they struggle with the work-life balance, especially entrepreneurs, because it's hard enough having our own work-life balance. You know what I mean? So add in kids and a family and other responsibilities, going to school, going to after school things. Where do you have time for your business, especially if you have another job? So and then plus time, nobody has any time, right? We all say we're so busy. We have all of these apps to make life easier, but we add so many of them that we don't have time. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, the family is the thing that, gets left behind a lot in the priority list.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be that way. And with a few like simple, tweaks in your schedule, in your mindset, in your action set, you can bring your family back up to the top of the priority list where it belongs, and watch how that raises everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I like to do.
Awesome. So why do you think parenting coaching is important? Because like a lot of people, I know this is probably like a new thing, but it is necessary, it is needed, especially when you're being an entrepreneur. So why is it very important?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's an interesting question. I think I have an interesting answer too, because I don't actually like the term coach, really. I don't know. It's because if you're in that space and there's like a coach, I don't know. I don't like the term coach, and especially a parenting coach. Even though that's essentially what I do. I don't like that term because people can also be resistant about that. Like, I don't need a coach for parenting. Like, who am I to tell you how to parent? But it's not like that. It's not that I tell anybody how to parent. It's look at like more mindset stuff, look inside of us as human beings. And then as we raise our level of consciousness, raise our level of awareness and self-awareness, then the way you see parenting will shift and change, not because of me, not because like we would parent the same way, but because you're just raising your consciousness as a human being. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense. So how can parents find their balance with parenting and being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's the big question. And we all have to answer every day for ourselves. And it comes down to priorities, right?
Mhm.
as with everything. I just taught this to an English guy, like take and make. And I actually talked to a parent about this just yesterday. Take and make. Take, to have time and to make time. There's the difference.
Mhm.
Have time or make time. And you really have to make time for it.
Mhm.
And the number one thing that I say is to add family time into your daily agenda,
Mhm.
especially if it's something you kind of you struggle with fitting in,
Mhm.
right? Put it in your daily agenda. I'm sure you're the same way, that if something is not on my calendar, like it doesn't exist to me. It
Mhm.
slips my mind and other things fill in. So everything that's important, I put in my calendar, and I know many entrepreneurs are the same way. And it's essential then that we put family time or pick up the kids time or spend time with the family, spend time with my partner if you have a partner,
Mhm.
into your agenda. Put that as a schedule. And like some people might be resistant, saying, oh, well, then that's just a checklist, something to check off your checklist. But it's not. What
Mhm.
you're saying is that you're a priority. You're a priority to me. So I'm putting it in the calendar so nothing else gets in the way. You're protecting that time with them,
Mhm.
right? So that's number one. And number two is what you do with that time when you're inside, because it doesn't really matter if you put that time in, schedule that hour block or 2 hour block or whatever, afternoon block, if your mind is constantly thinking about work. And if you're constantly, on your phone in the DMs or in email or whatever, it kind of doesn't count. So have an intention with that family time.
Mhm.
And something that I teach is something that I practice is in my daily agenda. I don't know if you can see this, but I split it into two sides. And on the left side is what I have to do that day.
Mhm.
And then on the right side, I write why. So this is what, this is the why,
Mhm.
this is the deeper intention behind my what.
Mhm.
And this helps for all of like the mundane tasks that you have. Like I have to do email, like entrepreneurship, is very repetitive.
Mhm.
It's very just do the boring work again and again and again.
Mhm.
But that kind of puts a little spark into it. And then why is going to like things like going shopping at the supermarket can all of a sudden have an intention behind it.
Mhm.
Spending time driving my kids home from practice, that can all of a sudden have an intention behind it. So number one is schedule it, plan it in your day, put it in your calendar. Number two, why is it in your calendar? What do you want to accomplish with that? So those are what I go by.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you had said that because when I was a stepmother, when I was married and I was a stepmother, I use the Google Calendar. Google Calendar is free because I have it linked to my phone so it can alert me about whenever the kids had practice, whenever they had games. Like I literally had got to the point to where like I was just like immediately a wife and a mom. And so I was tending to forget their stuff as well as myself. So I had to really just sit down like one day and just like put all of their stuff in my calendar so I can see what they had going on and schedule whatever else I had going on around their schedule because I really didn't want to interrupt their schedule of being a child because I feel like that if they wanted to be in extracurricular activities, that was all fine, cool, and dandy. I was all for it. So what could I move around so they
Yeah.
can still get what they need and be able to be active and stuff. So I'm glad you did say that because a lot of people don't think that is helpful. And that really helped me as a stepmother as to knowing their schedule, where they're going to be at, and how can I be a part of their daily activities, as well as trying to still be a mother, a wife, and student because I was in school at the time. And it just helped me to get some type of grip because I'm telling you, if you don't have any type of grip on what you're doing, it can drive you insane. Like
Yeah.
it can drive you crazy. So I'm glad you did say that.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you shared that personal testimony too, to give your personal experience with that, because it is so helpful. It's so helpful mentally too, because
Mhm.
then since it's in your calendar, go pick up the kids from practice. It's
Mhm.
in your calendar. It's not a nuisance. If it's not in your calendar and something comes in, it's kind of like a nuisance. It gets in the way. But if it's in your calendar, that's what you have to do, right? That's in your calendar.
Mhm.
And so then it's just a part of your routine,
Yeah.
right? Is that what you found?
Yeah, I just, yeah, then that's when it started flowing freely to me about their stuff and what they're gonna do, and then I was able to get a grip on my schedule. I was able to, set healthy boundaries and tell people, no, I can't do this for you because I got to do this with my kids. Like my family is a priority, so it really helps you to prioritize too, as well.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome.
So I know you were talking about our mindset earlier. So why is our mindset important when it comes to this? Like when it comes to entrepreneur and being a parent?
Yeah, mindset is everything, isn't it?
Mhm.
Mindset is everything because it leads to your results. It leads your mindset leads you to your results, leads you to your goal because your mindset is literally picking up everything. Like we have everything coming in at us.
Mhm.
And there's something called the reticular activating system, which is essentially just a filter to filter in the things that are important to us. So, being a parent, especially like you said, when you were a stepmom, you probably saw a lot of other kids. You probably saw a lot of other moms, even if they weren't in your group, like at the supermarket or at the mall or whatever, because your reticular activating system was thinking about kids, right?
Mhm.
When my kids were babies, like there were babies everywhere. There aren't nearly as many babies now, right? Why? Because that's not what I see now, right? So your mindset is everything. So if you see like a failure, a meeting fell through. I had
Mhm.
2 meetings fall through today.
Mhm.
Totally transparent. That's what happened. So when something like that happens, you set your schedule aside, you have it in your calendar. So
Mhm.
like I came back from the gym kind of early for one, right? And you could look at that and say, and your mindset tells you you're a failure. They didn't want to talk to you. You did something wrong. Um, all of this negativity that can happen,
Mhm.
but it's your mindset that keeps going forward. Said, okay, what's the next thing?
Mhm.
What's the next thing? Right. And then I had another meeting. Uh, they had to reschedule. Okay, that's another opportunity to get off the rails. That's an opportunity to, get down on yourself. Oh, that's 2 in a row. Or that's an opportunity to say, okay, I have this time. What else can I do? What's the next thing? So it's your mindset that keeps you moving forward. And in the end, I actually booked a lot stronger of a call than either of those two potential calls with somebody else,
Mhm.
right? As a result. So it's that mindset that keeps you moving forward, keeps you moving towards your goals. Keeps you thinking positive, keeps you thinking healthy. You mentioned, healthy, right? Set healthy boundaries. Healthy is a big word. So it's keeping you healthy, keeping you regulated, keeping you moving towards your goals. That's all your mindset. And it's what you see, right?
Yeah.
It's what you see, what you experience, what you see in your filter.
Yeah. And what you said about keeping it healthy, one thing I did not do though, that as a stepmother and as a wife, that I will be doing whenever I do get remarried and try if have kids, if it's in God's will, it will be to schedule self-care time. I did not
Oh,
schedule self-care time for myself. And when you don't do that as a individual, as a parent, it's hard. It can be hard for you to show up for someone else when you can't really show up for yourself. And then it's kind of like you're struggling with the guilty parenting issues of I really want to do this for myself, but I really still want to show up for the kids. It's okay to be selfish sometimes because you have to check in with yourself and be okay with yourself and be able to show up for yourself before you can show up for anyone else. And that's one thing I wish or I took away from that is me not putting any self-care time in place. And I said I will start scheduling self-care time in place, especially once I get married, because it's
yeah.
very, very important for you to do that because you can lose yourself if you don't.
Oh, I love what you just said. And I don't even know if you consciously did this, but you've been doing a lot of personal development work on yourself. I can tell because just the way you changed, you reframed what you started to say. You said, that's one thing I wish. And then you changed it and said,
Mhm.
that's one thing I took away. It's
Mhm.
something a little like that. Those little language patterns that make all the difference in the world. And just like you did, catch yourself in the middle and change that story
Mhm.
immediately, change that in your mind. And that was really beautiful.
Well, thank you. But that's like
Yeah.
one of the things that I learned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Self-care. And you said something, you said, sometimes you have to be selfish. And I would say, like, all the time you have to be selfish, like a healthy selfish. And I don't mean like a selfish, like me, but a
Yeah.
selfish, like what's healthy for me. Because
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you can only give out of what you have. If I'm depleting myself, and I see it all the time with parents, like, and even business owners, they
Yeah.
pour everything into the business, but they're depleting themselves. It's like having a cell phone with no battery,
Mm-hmm.
and they're depleting themselves. But if you are selfish and you block out time, um, and not to say like kids go away, this is my time, but like figure out a way,
Mm-hmm.
or have a healthy mind. Say, I just need a few minutes here to recharge or something like that, but take care of yourself first. That
Mm-hmm.
was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna switch gears. I know you were talking about previously we were talking about how you help women. So how do you use your skills to inspire women to use their gifts and to help raise up other future entrepreneurial women? So how do you do that?
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I love being a girl dad, seeing powerful women and entrepreneur women. That's something special to me. And how do I inspire women? I guess based on the comments and the feedback I get, just by being a man, a father in the space, speaking up, and being like showing leadership skills as a father. Because I think, like, in the parenting space, men are a little, well, we're not underappreciated, under present, like we're under, what word am I looking for? Undervalued, not undervalued, we're not present, right? There's
Mhm,
not as many of us by
mhm,
numbers, right?
mhm,
And I think some of that is, excuse me, I think some of that is like men don't ask for directions,
mhm,
and like we don't ask for help,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So it's kind of like strange sometimes. And I think just women seeing more men like standing up and showing kind of a vulnerable side too,
mhm,
and being in touch with their own being, doing things like inner child work, which is super, super powerful. The things that I would have said like in my 20s, yeah, okay, you do that then. But it's so, so essential to your own health, to your own growth, the healing that's in myself, like this, the little boy that's inside of me, the little girl that's inside of you that just, you know, wants to be loved, wants to be accepted,
mhm,
and wants to be safe,
mhm,
and taking care of that person. And I think just seeing more men do this, I think that inspires women, especially mothers, especially single mothers. And I hope that it, gives them hope. You
yeah,
know, I've heard many times, and you don't know how to take this. Like, I wish, my kid's dad was like you,
mhm,
or I wish I had a dad like you. On one end, that's a compliment, and
mhm,
I appreciate it. And it's very special. But on the other end, I'm like, okay, thank you. But like, focus on you. What do you have?
mhm,
You have a lot going for you. What do you have?
mhm,
Right? Because if we sit in this land of like, I wish, like,
mhm.
you can get stuck there.
Yeah.
But you can, and that's the world we want to live in.
Mhm. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you are using that to inspire women. That's very, very important. Like you said, we can get stuck in the what ifs. And I try to tell people, let's live in the present. Like you said, let's focus on what you can do now. Let's
Yeah.
focus on what is important to you now. What focus on what's good, like what you're good at now. How can we use that? Because like we can get stuck in the patterns of what if. Um, I have been there several times, and then I had to snap back and be like, okay, that's keeping me stagnant. I'm not getting nowhere. So I kudos to you for that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and it does creep in all the time. It's
Hmm.
something we'll never get over. Biologically, we're wired to look at the negatives of things. Like, that has traditionally kept us safe. We were in caves, we heard a sound, we heard a noise over there. That could be danger.
Hmm.
That could be a tiger or a um or jaguar or something. Like, so biologically, we're wired to give more attention to the danger. So
Mhm.
it is a constant struggle. It is a constant battle. But rather than battle, I also don't like to use the word battle because that causes resistance. But it's a constant game,
Mhm.
really,
Yeah,
a
it is.
dance.
It is. But thank you, Mr. Jesse, for being a guest on the show today and sharing with us your knowledge and tips. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share your social media handles so people can know how they can get in contact with you if they would like to, and you can talk about any services that you're offering during this time. So would you like to tell us anything that you're offering during this time, Mr. Jesse?
Yeah, so something that's really cool. You mentioned about the parenting guilt that like you experienced when you were a stepmom and a wife. And that's something that's super common. And actually on July 1st, I'm actually giving a workshop on how to handle and release that parenting guilt. So that's on, if you download this playbook. So there are my social media handles, my link tree, linktree.jesse.sweed, or just search me on, the platforms on Facebook or Instagram, Jesse Sweed or LinkedIn. And if you go to eaglemethod.newsendler.com and get the playbook, it's the conscious leading playbook. You'll get emails to get notified and with the Zoom link and the registration to join this workshop. It's on handling parenting guilt and releasing it.
Okay.
And
Um,
it's a free workshop, so it'll be great.
awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
And if you guys would like to please check that out. And if you guys would like to get in contact with me, you can do so. My number is 910-317-0396. You can also shoot me an email at contact@mjfinancial.biz. You can schedule a consultation with me on www.mjfinancial.biz. You can find this episode, you guys, on Spotify. It's no longer Anchor. I need to change that. And you can also find the video again for the playback on the YouTube channel for M&J Financial Management as well. So thank you, Mr. Jesse. I highly appreciate you for coming on the show today and sharing your journey and your tips.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, T.
You're welcome. And all right, you guys, we will see you on the next episode of Tips with T.